Let's say we have no space in our drawers and no space in our closets, and we're building a business and we want to invite all this new energy in. Well, where is it going to go? Like, there's no literal room. So it's really about understanding that your home is a metaphor for your life. Every single thing is a metaphor, and we can talk about this from a million different angles.
Welcome to Life by Design, the show where we explore what it means to grow intentionally in a world that wants you to stay stuck on your default settings. Conversations covering every area of your life, honest, deep, and occasionally geeky. I'm your host, Kate Vandenboss. My guest today is Cody Maher, a strategic Feng Shui consultant who specializes in focusing on the one thing many of us overlook and take for granted, the environment we live in every single day, and yet rarely think about how it influences our life. We explore why your home can be one of the most overlooked tools for your own personal growth and transformation. How clutter, blocked spaces, old things, and even the way you use your home can keep you connected to an older identity of yourself. How to intentionally make space for the life you want next. From creating space that supports who you're becoming to simple feng shui shifts around your home to welcome in health, balance, and abundance. Plus Cody's super practical approach for getting energy moving again, and top tips to walk away with to start working on it today. So as you listen, take a look around your own space and ask yourself, what is my home trying to tell me right now? Okay, let's dive in. Cody, welcome to Life by Design. I am absolutely so happy to have you here today.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
So before we dive into the nitty gritty, let's just start with the end in mind. What is at least one thing that you want somebody to walk away from this conversation with today?
My goal is always that people walk away with a new understanding and possibility of what home is, so that home can become alive in their life and a space that they can start to work with to really intentionally move their life in the direction that they want to go.
Yeah, it sounds exciting. Who doesn't want that? I have to say, this is absolutely a selfish conversation. So if nobody else was even listening to this, because I am moving. And I was like, this is perfect. As I'm packing all of my stuff up, getting ready to actually move state as well.
Wow.
So I've dabbled in feng shui but it's actually not even something that I know about myself. So that's I'm going to be the sponge today and just sucking all of this in. So if, keep that in mind, if you have any top tips as we're talking about the big move and setting up the new house.
Yeah.
So, let's set the frame. So what is feng shui? What is your definition of it? How do you use it? What is it for you in the world?
So I'll just start by saying there's so many different ways to define this wisdom. It's vast. There's different angles we can look at, different schools of thought, but I'm just going to keep it really simple because I really like to keep things simple in general. That's my perspective. I want whatever I teach to be very simple and practical and not confusing. So let's just talk about the definition of the word feng shui. So wind, water. So basically, we can break that down in this way. When we're working with the energy of our home, we're working with both the seen and the unseen. So what do I mean by that? So wind is an energy that we don't see. You can't see wind, most of us, but you can feel the effect of it, right? Like it blows through our hair, or it knocks something over. We see and feel the effect of wind, right? So there's an energy that moves through our home that we don't see, but we can feel and experience the effect of, whether we're aware of it or not. Then there's the water energy, and water is an energy that we can both see and feel the effect of, right? So we see water, and if you spill water on a table, it gets wet, and you notice that, right? So then we're talking about the seen energy in our home. And this is what everybody thinks of when they think of feng shui. What direction is my bed facing? Where does the furniture go? All of that sort of mundane level, that is the seen energy. So really, when we're talking about what is feng shui is a practice of working with the seen and the unseen energy in your home to help shift things in your life.
So do we just think about the home itself, or is this any of our living spaces, our office space, does that apply?
Really good question. Yes. So any space, including a storage unit that is yours, is your responsibility and is affecting you. So that could be your office space if it's outside of the home, a storage unit, your home, your car, all spaces are considered. And the thing that I really want to say is one thing that I really stand for is that feng shui is about your home. Yes, of course. but it's really about you and your life and how to really understand what your home is communicating to you about where you're at and how to work with that energy to sort of put yourself on the best path forward for you.
No, I love that. It's amazing. So the growth cycle is the coaching framework that I created, which is our year, our personal evolutional year. And there are points through the year where this is an extremely relevant topic. So when
Mhm.
your security and your environment comes right front of mind, if it's declutter, it's time for decluttering. And it's almost like that phase where clients get resistant to it because they're like, this is so frustrating. I don't want to stop what I'm doing and declutter. I don't want to, it almost feels like a waste of time, right? Or a
Mhm.
waste
Mhm.
of energy. And so there's this one thing, we spend so much of our time, and you specifically like to talk about it at times of transition. And
Yes.
obviously this applies to all areas of our lives, but at times of transition is when we go to make the changes in our lives, right? So we think
Yes.
about changing our mindset, changing our limiting beliefs, changing our emotions and responses to things, even going to the gym and changing our
Mhm.
physicality, right? But our environment doesn't seem to come up as a priority in very many people's agendas, So, but this also shows that missing piece, that missing puzzle piece actually was what got you here today through your own personal journey. So let's talk about like how that bringing that missing piece, that missing puzzle piece into your life, and how did you get here today? It's a fascinating story.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, and I agree. It's can be challenging to prioritize something that doesn't feel like a fire when there can be so many fires happening in our life, but I'll just say sort of, yeah, how I got here and why I do see it as a priority. So my personal story is I was an aerialist and an acrobat in the circus in my 20s and my 30s. That was my love from the time I was 7 years old. It's all I ever wanted to do. And then I was diagnosed with inflammatory bowel disease and just kind of went along my merry way, thinking I'd do whatever the doctor said and move along. And that's just not what happened. To shorten a very long story, I ended up having my large intestine taken out in an emergency surgery in my mid 30s, which ended my career as an aerialist. And I was didn't know what I was going to do. So I kind of bumbled around. I decided to be a health coach. I was okay, like that was okay, but it just wasn't really for me. And at the same time, I am a Cancer. I'm very into home. Home has always been important to me. And so, kind of just because I was like, oh, let's just start working with my space, right? And my teacher would say I knew just enough feng shui to be dangerous. And I started making some changes in my space. And at this time, I really wanted to call in my partner. I was, 34 and single and all the things. And so I just made some very light changes in my bedroom. And I really got in the energy of that. I got in the intention of that. I was very, very committed to what I was doing. Right. So even though I wasn't doing much, I was very committed in my mind and very clear on what I was calling in. Put two nightstands, left some room in my drawers, some room in the closet. And I met my husband about a 1 month later, when we eventually got married. And so, that's a very boiled down story of really what happened. And at first, feng shui as a practice was just something I always did. And then later I ended up getting certified and realized that this is really what I want to do in the world. And the reason I think it's so important is because a lot of people that are attracted to this are also very, like type A, like they want to get it right and they're doing all the things and they're journaling and they're meditating and they're manifesting and they're doing all of the things in their life. And then there's this whole thing out here in front of them that is untapped. So it's like we have this untapped resource. And when we can really make the connection that something that can seem so menial, like clearing clutter, can actually really, really affect change in our life. When we can really make that connection, it stops being menial and it stops being unimportant. And it starts to be a very simple way that we can work with the energy of our life to affect change.
Yeah, I love that. So you're telling me that little Cody didn't want to be a feng shui consultant when she grew up?
No, little Cody was an aerialist and an acrobat.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So that health journey, what was it, if you remember back, that actually opened the door to feng shui for you? I know it probably feels like it's always been there, but
Mhm.
what else did you try? I mean, describe more about what was the sensation in your life that you felt there's something's just still missing. I'm not doing,
Mm.
there's something that I'm missing here, you know?
Well, I think it was just that I was tired of all of the inner work. Like I was, I was told I would have these surgeries and I'd get back to my normal life, and that's not what happened at all. And it was really a struggle. And, I was doing all these diets and I was journaling and I was working with my mindset and I was, everything internal. It was so much internal and it's really hard work and it's tiring. Right. And I was just kind of like, so tired of all the focus being on this inner being. And Feng Shui just, when it came into my life, it felt like, oh, here's something that I can do that's out here. It's about my environment and my stuff. And there are these rituals and practices. And I can do these things and just kind of trust that something is going to show up for me. Right. And I can really put a little bit more energy out into this space and not so much in. And that was such a relief because it really was just like, oh, it doesn't have to be so hard, right? Like I think that that's one of the things I also really stand for in this work is it helps so many people that I work with just get into a little more ease in their life. And that can just be such a relief when we're very used to trying, pushing, doing all the work.
Oh yeah, we are big cheers over here for that one for sure. And again, that's that type A wants to do something, right? It's that
Mhm.
sense of actually having my mind occupied, learning something, making a decision, taking an action. And actually, I love that. I hadn't made that connection before, but also the practice of feng shui also allows you to intuitively feel into something. What
Mhm.
feels good to me about this? What doesn't feel good to me about this space right now? Is there something else for me to look at here? And I
Mhm.
love that. What is when you're working with clients, like what does this look like? Where does somebody start with this? So where do you
Mhm.
start when you're working in somebody's home with them?
So I have a framework that I use that I call clear, balance, and activate. And the reason is that you really, you can throw sparkles over a pile of shit, but it's usually part of my French. But what's the effect of that? Like it might look nice, but it's still gonna stink. So um I always think it's very important to start with the clearing work. And that is both, let's go back to the definition that I gave of feng shui, the seen and the unseen. That's both in the seen and the unseen. So an example of that is that could be clutter, right? And clutter has some sneaky ways of showing up in people's lives. Sometimes it's capital C clutter that we have to deal with, and there's no shame in that. I want people to know that. Like, there are reasons that clutter shows up. Sometimes they're actually an energetic challenge in the house, which is a little complex, so we won't get into that today. But there's no shame around clutter when I'm working with somebody. So maybe it's really big clutter, or maybe it's just like, there's like 5 pairs of jeans in my closet that haven't fit me since 2012, but I'm keeping them because I hope that I'm going to be that version of myself. And that can really hold us back big time. Like all of these things that, or maybe we were holding on to grandma's china and you hate it, but like she gave it to you and you're keeping it out of guilt. So there are these things in our life that we want to look at, like, why are we keeping what we're keeping? And are they actually serving us and making us happy? So that's the sort of, the water part, the clear of the mundane physical stuff. Then there's the energetic clearing. And this is huge. This is a huge piece. And this is why I love it so much. Every fight that's ever occurred in your space, even before you lived there, if you're not the first person to live in your house, or even if you are, the energy of the people that built it, like all of that accumulates in our space. We can't see it like the wind, but it's there. And that can really be having an impact on someone's energy, their financial well-being. And so I have a really vast library of very cool clearing rituals that I use with all of my clients to help clear the energetic clutter, so to speak, that is accumulated in a space. So that's always the first step, is clear. Do you want me to pause there? I know I'm getting way
Yeah,
ahead.
no, actually,
Yeah.
I've got a whole bunch of just like
Yeah.
bing, ding, ding, dings going
Yeah.
on. And because I did, and I'll put all the details and we'll talk about it at the end. You have a free download, which you're offering, which is,
Hmm.
where to start, right? And I even just glancing through that with the 9 ways that your home might be leaking energy, I was like, oh, yeah, that
Hmm.
and that. And I had looked at, do you grid out? That's kind of the part of it. At again glance, I dabble clearly at it.
Hmm.
And I realized like that as I moved into this house, I didn't choose this house. I moved in with my now husband because he was already here. And it's been funky for both of us. Like, and
Hmm.
just repeatedly ways. Like there things would be going great, and then there's something would just drop off or get blocked. And then I realized like we've had nonstop blocked toilets and blocked drains.
Mm,
Every time
mm.
we've had a storm, we have a double blockage in our literally water system. And
Wow.
I looked it up. It's my front door. It's my abundance
Mm,
corner.
mm.
And I'm like, oh yeah, maybe, maybe that's something that we need to be looking at clearing. Do you start with the whole house, or do you if it's like do you start with one area of the house? Like, what's if you're going to start clearing? Where would you?
Yeah.
For somebody who feels overwhelmed, to even start thinking about this.
Yeah, totally. I think the best place to start is with the obvious things. It's not necessarily like the whole house or an area. It's like what's happening. So in your example, it's like, well, let's start with those literal blockages and let's understand physically what needs to happen. Do we need to call a plumber? Like there's very practical things that happen, right? Do we need to call a plumber? Do we need to clear the gutters? Like what's going on there? What can we do about that? And then what is the appropriate ritual to clear that energy? And that's something that's a conversation, around that. So it's really starting with like the lowest hanging fruit. And I think that when someone overwhelm is a very common feeling because there's a lot of information out there and it can feel like, especially in certain schools of feng shui, it can feel like it's very rigid or very like yes or no, right? And so I think, the best thing to do is really just to start like with what is the and that's why I created that list because it's pretty simple, right? Like, what is the thing that my house is showing me, right? Like maybe, yeah, maybe there's some water challenges, or maybe there's a leaky sink in my kitchen that's been leaking for 3 years, and I've just learned, oh, I turn this and I turn that, and then it's fine. Like, there's all these little dances that we do around the things that are broken, but that's a really good place to start. Is like, what is my house showing me as the main issue that we want to address?
And then what's next? We
In
cleanse.
terms of the step. Okay, so
Yep.
then we've cleared, right? And this is something that I hold a client's hand through, right? So what we're sort of talking about working one-on-one. This is my process, right? So we're going through the clearing together and we're also seeing, so I don't just, this is I think important to say, I don't believe in feng shuiing just for the feng shui of it.
Okay.
Like someone's like, "Hey, can you feng shui my space?" My answer is like, "No." Because I don't believe in that. I believe in like, hey, Kate, what's happening in your life? Cool. What are your priorities for your life? Cool. Let's solve for that. Let's do the work around that and not just like some general random thing. Like that's just not, I don't see the best results in that way. I think it's much more effective when it's highly personalized. So then we move to balance, and this is a bigger conversation, and that's when we start to look at things like the Bagua map, which people will see online. It's a 9 life areas of feng shui. It's the map that you lay over your space. So I do that, and we'll just look at like, okay, are there areas that we need to balance via the 5 elements? It gets a little complex, so I don't want to get too far ahead. But let's just say we're looking at balancing the energy, balancing the energies of your home based on what's happening in your life, right? So always based on what's happening in your life.
So it's not just a case of move a plant, everything, money's going to start flowing. Right?
Maybe, I mean, possibly. I love a miracle, right? Like, and then those stories exist. I've experienced those things, right? Like, that is such a great thing to say because there are these stories and these occurrences where, like, somebody moves one thing and it opens a floodgate, and that can happen. More often, it's the drop by drop, it makes an ocean. So you're doing these little changes. And maybe you don't even notice, but then, I just got off the phone with a client before this, and she was like, we've been working together for a month, and the first thing she said was like, I'm fully obsessed. I did these things. My husband got a new job. Like energy is moving,
Nice.
So
Yeah.
more often than not, it's just these little changes that you're making, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, I'm in a completely different place than I was when I started this.
I love that. So when you work with clients, can you work with them remotely, or do you need to be in the house with them?
Oh no, 90% of my work is virtual.
Nice.
Yeah.
Um, there was something I was just going to say about plant. So that's one of the things on there is like how we're talking about living beings in your space too, is actually recognizing, I really pay attention to where my dog likes to lie. And
Mm-hmm.
it's actually changes. And that's fascinating to me. Like he'll get like at the moment he's in his favorite spot over here. And I just watch and observe because he has no agenda, right? He can do
Mm-hmm.
whatever he wants whenever he wants. And he chooses to go and lie in that spot, or he chooses to not lie in that spot. And so I was curious, again, I was thinking from a plant perspective, is where are plants happy in your
Mm-hmm.
house, or where do
Mm-hmm.
flowers thrive in your house?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we've got it cleansed, we've got it balanced. What's the next step?
This is where it gets fun. Now we activate. So we've cleansed, and this is not about perfection. It's not like I've gotten rid of every single thing that I could never possibly use and everything is perfect and I'm
Mhm.
perfectly balanced. That's not, no. It's an alive conversation, right? So now we're at a place where we can activate. And this is where we really start to bring in different things that activate. So whether that's like, okay, we're working on money, let's bring in some things to different areas of the Bagua to really activate that money energy. There's some very cool rituals that I like to do once we've done the clearing rituals. We do the activating rituals, different cures, different remedies. And so that's where this work really comes in. And we really start to like, okay, we've removed what's in the way. We're out of the weeds. Let's activate your desires.
That's a really fabulous metaphor. Is one of the metaphors that I like to talk to my clients about is actually cleaning the kitchen before you cook. And
Yes,
that's the
ma'am.
same, right? And so it's that sense of clear down. Don't try
Mm-hmm.
and keep creating on top of chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Let the chaos and clutter clear. And again, we do this. I mean, it makes so much sense that we do it in our space. We talk about it all the time by doing it with our limiting beliefs and our emotions and our um, all the clutter that we have in our energy field is
Mm-hmm.
actually also in our space around us too. I remember you just reminded me was my new latest thing is obsession is sourdough baking. I have
Oh,
become
yeah.
internal, a homesteader in the making.
I
And
love it.
well, there was one while you were talking is it's not about my understanding of this. It's not about clearing everything. And one of the homestead channels that I'm following, she talks about making her kitchen peaceful, a place
Mm-hmm.
of beauty. And part of that for her is actually making it feel like a home, not a showroom where
Yes.
everything is, because I have to say, I get very uncomfortable in spaces that are meticulous. I got friends that I go over to their house and I'm afraid to touch anything. I'm afraid to sit anywhere. And when I've house sat for them, I'm like absolutely obsessive, putting everything back in the drawer exactly the way it was. And that's not my personality. And so talk a little bit again about where's that happy medium between making it clean and clear, but also comfortable and livable for you.
I love this so much. This is so exciting. So I have a course that is going to come out again in the fall. It's called Make Space. And it's a course about clutter, about making space in your life for what you desire, because you do have to make space for those things. One of the things that I really talk about is like, not everybody's a minimalist. We're not all minimalists. Some of us like to live with stuff around us. So I think that a big part of this process is really just like is understanding, wait a minute, how do I like to live? And then also, what season of life am I in? Because a lot of my clients are moms with younger children, and I'm a mom with a younger child. Do I love toys all over my house? I do not. But do I see that as life and her beautiful expansion and all this stuff? And do all those toys have a home? Yes, they do. Are they all always in that home? No, they are not. Right? Like rarely. So it's really this balance of like, how do I like to live? What is my level of stuff that feels good to me? Do I like things more homey? Do I like things more clean? Like, am I a minimalist? Am I a minimalist? Am I a maximalist? Do I like color? Do I like more neutral spaces? What do I actually like beyond what I think I'm supposed to like? Plus, what season of life am I in? Am I in a season of life where there's a lot of kids and chaos in my house? And how can I really view that as a season instead of this like constant headache? And what do I need in order to get myself there?
I think that's that we all know that feeling of just shutting the door in a room because we just
Mm-hmm.
don't want to go in there. We don't want to deal
Mm-hmm.
with it. And yeah, it's again making it something you mentioned it before is it's about do I love this? So let's talk again a little bit about the closet. You mentioned that
Mm-hmm.
briefly because I think this is again something that we can all appreciate is where does and what is the impact of a closet full of stuff that's not serving
Yes.
you right now? How's that show up in people's lives?
Oh, I love this too. So our closets represent, excuse me, our closets represent our identities. And maybe there's something in here for me to look at. They represent our identities. They represent like how willing we are to be seen in the world, how we want to be seen, how we're showing up. So when we're keeping stuff in our closets that's not, let's just say, in alignment with who we are in the world, that can really act as a blockage. It can act as an energetic drain. It can act as a blockage, and it can really express ourselves in opportunities not showing up, or, you know, even let's go back like a little bit to more basics. Let's say we have no space in our drawers and no space in our closets, and we're building a business and we want to invite all this new energy in. Well, where is it going to go? Like, there's no literal room. So it's really about like understanding that your home is a metaphor for your life. Every single thing is a metaphor. And we can talk about this from a million different angles. But in this angle, if you don't have any room for the person you're growing into, if you are so like attached and holding on, grasping to other versions of yourself that you've outgrown, and yet you're saying like, no, I'm growing into this person. I want to be this person. But like the subconscious, AKA the closet, is like, no, no, there's no room for that. Well, there's no room for that. So it's not going to be as easy for it to appear in the outside world.
Because again, that's keeping the skinny jeans
Right.
or keeping the ball gown that you fitted into for your prom night or whatever that looks
Totally.
like. And actually, I'll admit it takes discipline because there's part of it that it's that mind talk around I'm failing. If I let this go, I'm basically giving up on the belief that I'm ever going to fit into those jeans again, or that I'm ever going to, go to a ballroom with and be able to wear that dress again. And so you're right. It's like it's so entangled with that identity. And what would you say to yourself that actually makes it easier to let that go?
Well, I would just say I've had this experience. So, one, there's nothing wrong with sentimentality. So, if you have something that's super sentimental to you and you're not ready to get rid of it, then you're not ready to get rid of it, and that's okay. So, it's not an all or nothing. But I've had the experience of really being sort of like ruthless with my closet. And I can tell you, I miss one thing. And I remember exactly what it is. It's this ratty old sweatshirt that my husband gave to me. It's like a gray champion sweatshirt. And I think about like, oh man, I really wish I had that sweatshirt. That's the only thing. I got rid of bags and bags of stuff. That's the only thing I ever think about. So just reminding yourself that even though it's hard, growth is hard. Sometimes it's hard and sometimes it's confronting, and you can handle it. You can handle the emotions. I can handle missing that sweatshirt. I can handle what comes like from going through the closet. But how much do you want what you say you want versus how much do you want to stay stuck in the comfort? So sometimes it isn't going to be easy, and it is going to be a little uncomfortable. And that's something that, like we have to face. We have to just say like, how much do I want to grow right now? Or how much do I want to stay stuck? And while it might not seem like, oh, keeping these jeans is doing anything, I promise you it is. I've seen it too many times to not believe that it is.
Yeah, I mean, again, an organized closet when you walk in there just feels like if you have piles of clothes on your chair that you just tried on and thrown off, tried on and thrown off because it didn't feel good. And versus walking in, having everything organized in front of you, knowing exactly, you know, having almost an outfit in mind that's going to
Mm-hmm.
represent you cleanly out into the world is a completely different feeling. It's such a
Mm-hmm.
confidence builder around that.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, the counterpoint to having those skinny jeans sitting there as a reminder every time you walk in there that you're not meeting that standard that you have for yourself is an energy suck in itself.
Totally. Yeah. And I mean, this can get very deep because this can get into like, especially if we're talking about women, and this is not just for women, I have male clients that deal with this too, but um, it can talk to like how we're seen as we're aging in society, and what our bodies mean in society and all of these things. And there's so much in the like, especially people that have children, the bounce back culture, right? Like there's a lot in there. So it's very interesting because this is why I say your home can be your best personal growth tool. If you can just look at that and say, huh, interesting, this is what's coming up for me. Like let me do some work around this, whatever that is for you, meditation, talk to a therapist, journal, whatever it is. And then you can really clear that and move forward in your life versus just like shutting the door and being like, I don't want to deal with that. Right.
Yeah, so we're talking like transitions or role transitions. It's a really good point too. If you've moved from pre-motherhood into motherhood and you are still surrounding yourself with pre-motherhood items, but you're in motherhood now, it's like
Hmm.
that, it's that conflict of energy. It's actually that's just not who I am anymore. And
Right.
it's again, like you said, not dismissing it as that was an experience I had. That was a phase that I went through in my life, but now I'm here. And
Mhm.
because again, it feels like it's just that lack of alignment in your energy, which is just it's a beautiful metaphor. And again, I'm sure one all of us can immediately, again, not necessarily think about first and foremost, but once we think about it, it's like, oh yeah, that completely makes sense. What areas of my house am I avoiding because I don't want to face things? What drawers am I not opening because there's just too much clutter in there? What things am I not dealing with? I mean, I've even heard again things like your inbox, right? Your
Mhm.
email inbox is again hidden clutter, but it's still an energetic tie to things that you're not facing, things that you're not reading, things that you put aside and you have, no intention of ever going back to, but it's still, and books also, actually, I love your opinion on books. This is again what I've dabbled and heard is that like books are a big dust collector. And
Mhm.
again, that money, because energy wants to move like money, energy wants to move, water wants to move. And having books just sitting there actually not moving, so I've heard, and I'd love your opinion on that, is also a stuck energy.
Yeah. So, I mean, anything that's stagnant is stagnant and it can create a block. And I think this comes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's like, what are the books serving in your life? Do you love them? Are you reading them? Are you using them? Some people just really love books, right? Like they love to be surrounded by books that they've read. It makes them feel good. It's a beautiful energy in their life. Other people are keeping them because they don't know what to do with them, or they've just been sitting there and they've stopped seeing them, literally, because we stop seeing things, which is crazy. We really, our brain, like as it gets the reticular activating system, right? It will stop seeing something that is familiar. So I think it's like, it's not whether it's a good or a bad or a this or a that. It's just like, what does it mean in your life? And what do those books represent to you?
So again, if we cycle back to because my brain is now again in packing mode and moving mode,
Yeah.
what is your advice to moving and moving your stuff to a new
Mhm.
place? Like what's a strategy or a way of thinking that kind of makes that an easier transition, a
My
beneficial one
answer
as
might be
well?
a little bit weird, but I'm going to go with it. So I think it's really important to, well, a couple things. So one, don't be hard on yourself. Everyone has this vision when they move that they're going to go through everything before they pack it. And then it's like a week and you're just like throwing things in boxes, right? You're
No,
back at
don't
it.
tell me that. No, no.
Whatever
Mm.
happens will be okay. Like whatever happens. So if you get the like amazing life colonic and that's great, like awesome. But if you're just throwing things in the end, it'll be okay too. You have the unpacking, right? Which hopefully you have more time to do. So I do think it's a great time to go through stuff if it's possible. Like if you have the time, I think it's a really great time to go through stuff. But what I really want to focus on is the place you're leaving and the place you're going to. And this we can go very deep into like how our culture doesn't honor transitions at all, whether it's from, having a period to menopause or like made into motherhood, whatever it is, these transitions, we've really lost the like ritual around them. And so I think moving is one of these times that we can really take a moment to honor the place that we were, call all of our energy back from that place, and really clear it for the people that are coming next. Like when I leave a home, I always think like, how do I want to leave this space energetically for who's coming, right? I want to call all my energy back from this place. I want to do some salt or some clearing to really like clear the energy. I want to take a minute, maybe write a letter and say like, thank you to this house for everything I've experienced. Apologize for any of the ways that I might have like put you down, right? Think of it as like a person, like you're breaking up with someone, right? Um, and really just take a moment to honor that. And then when you get to your new space, if you do have the opportunity to get in there before your stuff arrives, to do some sort of intentional space clearing, to welcome that energy, to cleanse it of whatever has happened there before you enter the space is really what is ideal if possible while moving.
That's fabulous advice. Definitely, I'm glad I asked actually. And so, is there an area that would be beneficial to set up first? Like if you're moving into a new space or
Mhm.
heading into a new environment, where would your focus start?
Yeah, I would get practical. I would set up my bedroom. I
Mhm.
would set up my bedroom first and then the kitchen. And just so that we can have the two like main spaces that we need, the bedroom and the kitchen and maybe the bathroom. And just then we can take our time with unpacking things. And the other thing with moving is it takes a minute to get just like, when you're in a new relationship with someone, it takes a minute to like figure it out. So I wouldn't get too sort of particular necessarily about where things go. It's you give yourself time to experiment with like, I've had this experience with myself and with clients so many times at this point where it's like all of a sudden I was just having this talk with a client. It's so funny. He's been living in his space for like, I don't know, 5 to 10 years. I can't remember exactly. And it's a small space, so there's not a lot of movement that can happen with the furniture, right? But together we just figured out a move and it was like, whoa, how come we've never seen this before? And that's happens in spaces, right? Like you put your bed somewhere and then a year later you move it and you're like, how did I not? This is where it's supposed to be. So giving yourself just some time to really like introduce yourself to the space, get used to the space, put your hands on the wall and say, hi, hi, how's it going? I'm so and so. Nice to meet you. Like, just as if you're home. It might sound wacky, but the more you treat your home like a member of your family, the more your home will enrich your life.
I love that. And it reminds me when I moved into my last apartment. It was twice the size as the one that I just moved out of. And I'm having this visceral response and remembering it now because I had the same stuff that moved,
Mm.
but my energy didn't fill the space. And so I
Yeah.
actually found myself just staying in one room that I could close the door. It was my bedroom and my office area because I felt comfortable there. And I remember like, this is ridiculous. Like I felt so uncomfortable in the other part until I actually started expanding and I realized it wasn't the stuff because my stuff was all there. It was me that needed to get more comfortable in the space and start. I literally imagined like I was just literally blowing my energy out like a bubble to
Mm.
all the walls, to all of the space. And that's when it then started feeling like a hug and a home again,
Yeah,
as a good
totally.
reminder.
It's so beautiful, and it is true, like, our homes have lessons for us, and there are reasons that we move to spaces that we do, and sometimes just like relationships, sometimes it's meant for a short time, and sometimes it's meant for a longer time, and it's different homes are gonna ask different things of us. When you move from a smaller space to a larger space, you're being asked to expand, period. When you move from a larger space to a smaller space, you're being asked to look and say, like, "What do I really need right now?" Right? So again, these are the ways that our homes can really help us see what do we need to see about ourselves and our lives right now.
Yeah, I love that. And it actually is making me very excited about moving. Again, it's gonna be the
Yay.
first time that we've not moved our stuff together because like I said, I moved
Mhm.
in with him. And so it's actually now just even reframing how I'm thinking about it is, oh, we get to actually move our stuff
Mhm.
together and create a new life in this new space together. And so I love that. And I'm just super curious. I've always wanted to ask this. What is the simplest thing that you've discovered that is just not obvious to anybody else, but had a huge impact in somebody's life, maybe your life or somebody else's?
Obviously on a feng shui level. The simplest thing. Hmm. Eh, That's tricky because there's just so many. Um, I think I'm gonna go to the front door. I think, you know, yeah, this is what I'm gonna say. So the front door in feng shui is a really important area. No matter what school of feng shui, it's always important. And it's because it's considered the mouth of qi. It's considered like our physical mouths where our lives take in energy. So an energy equals money, equals opportunity, equals relationships, equals every single thing in our lives. So everything comes in through the front door. And I see commonly that front doors are relatively bland, right? They're just like these entry points that people kind of walk through and past without sort of stopping. So just adding some color and some personality can really shift things very, very quickly. Like I have a client, a different one that I'm working with right now. She put a new front doormat in and just kind of zhuzhed up her front door. And she's like, wow, the attention that I'm getting from males is out of this world all of a sudden, right? Like all of a sudden her energy just became much more vibrant and she was literally attracting more attention. So I think that that is just a very simple, like even just a new front door mat and make it colorful, make it, something that you love can really shift things quickly.
I mean, because I have a very big dog, and so
Mm,
when coming in the front door is something I usually go in through the garage because that's where it's like the boot room, right? Where you can throw everything
mhm.
down and hose him and, wipe him off. But again, having read your notes, I'm kind of like, we need to be thinking about the front door differently. Again, it's only guests that come through the front door if we're putting
Mhm.
a car in the garage, but I still see the door when I drive up. I still feel when I walk to the front door to get a package or when I open it to that there's something. You're absolutely right. It's like, and actually it's one of the areas of this house right now that I do not like at all. It's actually
Mhm.
that front. So I hadn't even really connected those two things together. I love it. I'm excited to move, which can be good.
Awesome.
This is fabulous. Like my mind is exploding and I made a whole
Mhm.
bunch of connections. So thank you so much for all of your time and wisdom here. So like I mentioned, I'm going to put the show notes down below for your free download, 9 ways your home might be leaking energy and money.
Yeah.
And so I'll make sure you guys can all get a copy of that. But what are two things if we're walking away from this conversation right now? Maybe one thing for someone to start doing, one thing for someone to stop doing. What would you suggest they do right now besides download? Obviously,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Um, so I'm gonna give kind of yeah, so we're gonna stay with the front door. So this is very common, Kate. So many people use a different door, which is fine. I'm not asking you to change your entry patterns. That's really annoying. Don't do that. Just like you said, use your front door. Even if you just like open it once a day and be like, hello, world, whatever it is, right? Go get the mail. Just open your front door, allow that energy to come in. Start sweeping around your front door. Start wiping it down on a monthly basis. If you're a moon person, do it on the full moon or the new moon or whatever it is you want to do. But just start having a relationship with the entry to your house and really enliven that. Make it feel like you, make it feel like a place that is welcoming and that money wants to come to and that people want to come to and that opportunity wants to come to. So, whatever that means to you, just really shift your relationship with the entry with your house in some small way. One of my favorite ways to do that is just to put a string of bells on the door handle. Every time you open the door, it rings in cheer and it clears negative energy. It's also like for our nervous systems, it's a really great, just kind of like if you hear that, someone's at your door, right? So there's sort of like a different way of looking at that too. But that is definitely a tip. I'm going to give you three things because I can't help myself, if that's
do it.
okay. I'll be quick. So the other thing is, especially for women and especially for women that have their own businesses, as best you can, try and maintain command position. So, what that means is that, especially when we're working and sleeping, we want to be facing the door where the energy is coming in, right? But not in direct alignment with it. So, you can see the door, but you're not sitting like this, right? Like it's not like right in front of you. What this does is on a nervous system level, it makes us feel safe. So we don't feel like something is coming from behind. And it also is that mob boss energy. Like if anyone's ever watched a mob movie, where does the boss sit in a restaurant? He sits facing the door because he wants to see what's coming, right? And so we want to take that center stage in our life. We really want to take command. And there are feng shui practitioners that take this very far, that will not sit anywhere that's not in command, right? Like even at a restaurant or at a friend's house, like they are going to sit in that command position because that energy of like, I am claiming that space, I am claiming that seat in my home as like the center. It is a very powerful statement on many, many levels. I won't go into too much because I know we're at the end here, but just finding that command position can be a really empowering shift, especially for women. And the third thing is super simple and it's silly, but I really do believe in it. Keep your toilet seats down, please. Just keep them down. There's many reasons for this. I'm not even going to get into like the money going down the drain because that's not even all of it, but it's also just a hygienic thing. Like do some research if you want, not you, but anyone listening on like what happens when you flush the toilet with the toilet seat out
Yeah.
because it's not great. So just keep your toilet seats down, keep your bathroom door closed, like keep that draining energy in your life contained.
Yeah, I've even seen people putting things over the drains in the showers, like rocks and
Hmm.
crystals. And so again, it's just that there's a filter and everything's just isn't just flowing away down the drain.
Totally.
Fabulous. I love this. Great things to start implementing right now. Thank you. How
Yeah.
how can people stay in touch, find out more about the great work you're doing in the world? I know that there's an opportunity on the download if you're interested in booking Cody for a consult. She has all her details on the bottom of the download, so grab a copy of that. But where else can people find you?
I really hang out on the gram. I'm on Instagram. Hopefully my website will be complete. It's complete. It's just not published by the time this comes out. If not, we'll see. But Instagram is a great place to connect with me. I try to stay active there. I'm always happy to receive a DM, and I'm always happy to answer quick questions too.
Love it. She does great work on Instagram.
Thank
I
you.
say. It's
Thank
been an
you.
absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for your time, and
Thanks,
I look
Kate.
forward to connecting with you again soon. Thanks, Cody.
Definitely. Thanks.